we have a green range, Daryl, so everything looks good this morning. Last but not least, we will bring everything to flight pressures and then hear that last status check from Dylan Rice.
And that'll be an
Hey guys, Button 25 here, watching launch for Ghost T. I believe this is a 551. Atlas 5.
Stable at step 3.
And there we verified that all pressures are good, and we are stable at step 3, ready for liftoff this morning.
28.
Verify ECS reduced for launch.
Verified. 25.
Status check.
Go Atlas.
Go Centaur. Go goes T.
And here we go.
T minus 15.
The final seconds now. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
There's the ignition. And liftoff.
And liftoff. Liftoff of NOAA's Ghost T, our newest weather sentinel in the sky to help keep us safe here on the ground.
Daryl, let's listen in as we listen to United Launch Alliance Rob.
This look good.
Who's the flight mission commentator.
View has gone to closed loop control. The RD-180 is now throttling down as expected. Engine response looks good.
Now let's shoot the vehicle approaching max Q.
Atlas is...
Or maximum dynamic pressure, most aerodynamic stress on the vehicle.
We have passed through Mach 1. Vehicle is now passing through max Q, maximum dynamic pressure.
Throttle back those RD-180s.
Now 55 seconds of flight. Atlas is 7 miles in altitude, 4 miles downrange distance, traveling at 19.
So it's going to be quite soon. We will see. Well, okay, they usually wait for the SRBs to trail off a bit before jettisoning them.
RD-180 is now throttling back up.
We backed off the throttle to reduce
Now
the
at
stress
75
on the
seconds
rocket.
into flight. Atlas is 13 miles in altitude, 10 miles downrange distance, traveling at 2,700 miles per hour.
KT plus 1 minute 30.
Now at 90 seconds into flight, ULA's Atlas V rocket weighs now just 1/2 of what it did at launch, burning propellant at a rate of more than 2,600 pounds per second.
In 10 seconds, those solid rocket motors on the side will cut off. Beautiful shot from space.
SRBs have burned out as expected.
There we go, you can see those
We see a
staggered
good
separation
SRB
there.
Clear shot of those
Vehicle is now
SRBs.
executing closed loop steering.
Yeah, I can't tell if maybe it's a 531.
Here in a few seconds, they're going to throttle back up.
Vehicle performance looks good at this time. Now 135 seconds into flight.
I'm just going to confirm.
The RD-180 has throttled down slightly. Vehicle performance continues to look good at this time. Tank pressures are stable and Atlas booster battery voltages remain in their expected ranges. Now the upper stage is preparing for its use. Centaur reaction control system is now pressurizing to flight levels.
Now they'll jettison the payload fairing, which protects Ghost T at 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
It's a 541. That's the variant it is.
We have just over 1 minute until BECO.
So that means 5 meter fairing.
We're now seeing the RD-180 throttle limiting to maintain a 2.5 G acceleration limit. Standing by for payload fairing jettison.
So yeah, 5 meter fairing, 4 external strong boosters, and 1 Centaur. And that would probably be the fairing separation.
And we've seen a successful payload fairing jettison.
And there's the forward load
Good shot
reactors
of those
there.
Fairings.
RD-180 is throttled back up now. And the vehicle has reached a 4.6 G acceleration limit and will maintain this level through BECO.
And you're looking at animation now.
We've seen that the Centaur has begun its boost phase shield down sequence.
Booster about to cut off.
And BECO, booster engine cutoff.
We don't
Standing by
have
for stage
understood.
separation.
There goes the
And a
stage.
successful stage separation event. We've seen pre-start on the RL-10.
And RL-10 ignition.
And Mass 1, we have ignition for the first burn. This first burn of ULA's Centaur upper stage will place the GOES-T spacecraft into a parking orbit around the Earth. This burn will last just over 7 minutes.
What a shot there, huh, Mick?
Yeah, that was great, Daryl, to see all that and listen to Rob Kesselman call that flight. The first stage performed very well this afternoon, and everything's looking good. Those gems.
Activity on the reaction control system as it begins its periodic firings to maintain thermal control conditioning.
Yeah, those
Yeah,
GEM
basically just to
63s
make sure
performed
it
well, solid
doesn't
rocket boosters, and already wanting to
overheat.
perform as well. What I really liked was when we saw the payload fairing come off. That was a great shot from the camera. Saw the payload fairing come off, and then most people probably noticed that little half cylindrical come off after payload
Halfway,
fairings.
yeah.
That was what we call the Centaur forward load reaction deck. Because
Forward
the
load
fairing, the
reaction,
5-meter fairing encompasses both Centaur
As expected.
and the GOES-T satellite, there's a load ring that's inside the fairing around Centaur to help keep that 5-meter fairing from flexing. So that's what you saw when you came off there.
I was wondering about
And the
that.
engine response remains nominal. I just
And so
received word from the trajectory and performance group that booster performance was as expected for the booster phase of flight.
All right, we're going to keep an eye on this burn and listen in. But in the meantime, we'll send it back to Megan out at the host desk.
If you're just joining us, welcome live to Kennedy Space Center in Florida, where we just saw GOES-T launch from just behind us at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. And guess what, everyone? I just found out that this was Kevin's first launch.
It was.
How was it?
It was super exciting. Almost a proud moment as an American, 20-year Air Force vet, and to be able to see this was awesome. Absolutely awesome.
Yeah, I'm so glad to be here. It was very fun to watch you react. Like you were like, you were like a kid. Like, oh, I have to take this. Oh, wow. It was great.
Absolutely.
It was great. So what's next for this mission?
Well, the wonderful thing about this, now that we've had a successful launch, we have about 12
Well,
days
we
before we
haven't.
actually reach geostationary orbit. So at that point, that's when we'll start our checkout phase. We'll be looking for the data to come down from the spacecraft to make sure everything checks out, that the images are correct, all that kind of stuff has to work its way through.
And, GOES is NOAA's latest weather satellite, as we've said. We've been launching GOES satellites together for nearly 50 years. I mean, there's been so many advancements made in between those times.
There have. And, I like to remind people that, this particular satellite in the series is really an evolutionary step, much like cell phones. Or when we talk about, hey, do you remember when we used to use landlines and rotary phones? Well, think about the leap we've taken from then to the cell phones and the capabilities that we have, much like that with our satellites.
Yeah, I know. I feel safer knowing that GOES satellites are up there. And now I'd like to bring in NASA's Leah Martin, who got to watch the launch with our agency's Deputy Administrator. Leah.
Hi, Megan. Like you said, I am here with Pam Milroy, NASA's Deputy Administrator. And what did you think of that launch? So exciting.
It was exciting, and it was, I don't know, I always just feel this electricity. When a launch goes up, you're like, wow, people can do this. This is just the power and the majesty of it as you see it lifting into the heavens. It's always exciting.
And, hours and hours and months of work that go
Yes.
into it. Absolutely. So, NASA's vision is to expand knowledge for the benefit of people here on Earth. That's the heart behind everything that we do. How does this mission fit into that?
This mission is a great example of our mission in a lot of different ways. I think one of the most powerful things that we do at NASA is we partner with others to maximize the benefit of the things that we do. So this mission to launch the GOES-T satellite will enable us to have cutting-edge capabilities that are looking down on the Western Hemisphere, the western part of the United States, to ensure that the data that goes into the NOAA models around weather are optimized, they're up to date, they will affect people's lives, whether it's farmers or protecting from wildfires. But what's interesting is we're also going to take that data because we have earth scientists who are modeling our Earth as a system and climate far out into the future. This isn't an operational weather, which is what NOAA's mission is. They do it very well. But we take this data and we also use it for the benefit of science. So it's a really synergistic partnership.
And you just mentioned climate change and monitoring the changes because that is a priority for NASA.
It is. It's one of our top priorities. We are already doing a significant amount in this area. Earth science and looking at our own Earth has always been an important part of our science mission. Interestingly, we also study other planets in the solar system, such as Mars, which we believe was once wet and had more of an atmosphere. And so the question is, how did it get the way that it did? And how do we make sure that does not happen to our planet? So it's a critical part of our mission.
Well, we're hoping that the information that we get today can feed into the future missions of tomorrow. If nothing else, we'll certainly know the weather. Pam, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it, and we hope you enjoyed the live.
Exciting day.
Megan, back to you.
Thank you, Leah and Pam. And Kevin, GoSee doesn't just forecast the weather. We've talked about this a little bit. You know, we've talked about how it monitors the atmosphere for fog, dust storms, and smoke, and especially for wildfires. But what about like smoke and ash for volcanic eruptions?
Yeah, absolutely. This past year has been kind of a revelation in our capabilities to view volcanic eruptions. In particular, probably the most spectacular example will be the Tongan. But what we also have is another example in the Caribbean where you can see not only the amount of ash that goes up, but the area that it covers. And as a result of that particular hazard becomes an aviation hazard in particular.
Yeah, you can see all the smoke there. You know, weirdly enough, 2 years ago, I was traveling in the Philippines, and there was a volcanic eruption there, and we had to ground hundreds of flights because of it. So really, GOES helps decide whether or not it's safe to fly.
They do. Again, NOAA's partnered with the FAA, and they provide them with those volcanic ash, both forecasts and projections for where that ash could go.
All right, we're now approaching another milestone in the ascent. Daryl and Mick, back to you.
Thank you very much, Megan. And we continue to burn, continue to get good numbers as we monitor the flight of the Centaur and GOES-T.
Yeah, things are looking really great on this flight, and coming up on MECO 1 of that Centaur engine as Centaur continues to perform nominally. We've heard pressures and everything look great.
PU system has gone open loop.
Here in about 10 seconds, we'll have the
Standing by for the end of the burn. And we have MECO. Main engine has cut off.
There you go. That completes that first burn. And so now we go into about an 11-minute coast phase.
At this time, the GOES-T spacecraft and ULA Centaur upper stage are in an unpowered coast phase that will last approximately 11 minutes. The coast allows the vehicle to move to optimal orbital position in the orbit prior to beginning the second main engine burn.
I'm not going to stick around for that.
It is animation that is tied directly
to the
telemetry
late. I'm just pretty tired. I'm about 25. That was Launch GOES-T. Goodbye.